Honestly, I think at this point, I want to make sure people see my story and say, like, making music, it's not about clout. It's not about making money. It's about art. I want to rap before I blow up, rap while I'm blown up, and rap when nobody cares about me anymore.
Growing up in Toronto, Jon Kabongo fell in love with the game of basketball. Shortly after this, Jon attended Huntington Prep, where he didn't hesitate to score 42 points, earning himself All-USA Performance of the Week honors. During the same season, he played for the Canada U16 national team. Creating a lot of buzz around his name, he eventually signed at Virginia Tech University. However, in only his second collegiate season, Jon was unable to play due to a hip injury as well as a back injury. These injuries not only ended his season, but also his career at Virginia Tech. This difficult period in his life allowed him to turn his other passions of music and writing into a new sense of purpose and direction. In the years following his injury, he released 2 mixtapes titled How Much Time You Got and Overtime Winners Lose, alongside a number of singles. One of these singles garnered the attention from a big media outlet, Complex Canada. On this single, Kabongo raps over top of Kendrick Lamar's Savior, where he paints his own picture of how our heroes are also human. Fulfilling the concept of the song, he released a video to highlight his own way of paying respect to his favorite rapper, Kendrick Lamar. Even though imitating Kendrick, he still stays true to himself and his own creative vision as an artist. This mindset of staying authentic to both himself and his craft is what has allowed him to find success as an athlete, an artist, and a writer.
How has playing basketball on a big stage prepared you for the pressures that come with performing music on a live audience? Obviously, you went to an ACC school. Growing up, you had a lot of eyes on you on the basketball stage. So just talk to me about how you kind of use that to, help with your performance.
Honestly, it's something I use a lot. Recently, I opened up for Pi'erre Bourne, right? And that was going to be like my biggest crowd like to date. Mm-hmm. It was like probably close to like 1,000 people. And I was like, yo, like, I have not performed in front of that many people before, and I felt those nerves. But then I reminded myself, I'm used to performing in front of people. Like, this is not new to me. I think that's where my experience in basketball at a high level really helps me transition into being put in the spotlight for music. I feel like I can handle that. I feel like I know the mental training I need to do to prepare myself to get in front of people. It's really about reps, before you go into a game, I can do this because I got the reps, and I get reps up with my songs. Like, I rehearse my music, I listen to it, I think about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to interact with the crowd. And I've known that when you do that, you can get out there. And even if you make a couple of mistakes, you know how to keep going.
Speaking of performing in front of a large audience and everything, when I was looking through your Instagram, you performed at an event called Relay for Life, where there's only 12 people in the crowd. I don't know if you're a fan of Jack Harlow, but he has a line where he's like, I performed in front of 8 people that build character, something you guys need more of. How does performing for small crowds as well as large crowds build character in yourself and in your music?
Oh, bro, I think what you learn is it has to be in you. A lot of people could kind of feed off the crowd, hyping them.
Yeah.
But when you really have to do it in front of 12 people that don't even know your music, and there was more people there, they just were doing other things,
Oh, okay.
That makes it even harder. There's a whole bunch of other people there that are half paying attention, and you don't want to look like that person that's just embarrassing themselves on stage. You're up there and you're like, all right, I just have to be a objectively good performer, whether or not there's a lot of people in the crowd. I think that's where you actually learn how to perform. Because a lot of people won't step on a stage until they feel like they're big. And they don't even know how to perform. You haven't even got your reps up. It doesn't even just build character, but you actually learn how to perform and how to deal with a crowd that's unfamiliar with your music or that's not really already there just for you.
As someone who's built a lot of relationships in both basketball and music, which world would you say is harder to navigate when it comes to making connections? I know obviously growing up with you, we were both pretty connected in the world, and obviously your older brother also played basketball too, so you kind of had someone to kind of lean on. Getting into the music industry, was it difficult to get your foot in the door, into the right door, and how did you go about building these connections?
That's a hard one to explain, because they're different worlds, but they're still connected. I think it depends what part of the industry you're talking about. When it came to just actually recording music, meeting engineers, meeting producers, there's always somebody that knows somebody else, and it's okay, well, this artist might know a videographer. This videographer might know somebody that's an engineer. It's just like basketball, but I'm self-managed. You could actually advocate for yourself a little bit more as an artist instead of being a player, it's like, you know, your AAU coaches speaking to college coaches. Like,
Right.
There's a lot of things that like you're just not even doing on your own as a basketball player. And I think that's probably the difference. There's a lot of like middleman activity in basketball when you're coming up, as opposed to like an artist. Like you could be independent from whatever age, as long as you're just smart enough to understand what you're doing. Like you can talk directly with a label, you can talk directly with a producer, you can talk directly with another artist. And I definitely think that's something that, you know, any artist coming up should want. You know, you want to be able to like speak for yourself.
How did you get in touch with like Complex Canada?
And that's relationship. That's a good friend that had an internship at Complex who was able to like pitch what I did to the editor, and the editor said, yeah, I like it. And he published it. That's just like a regular relationship, you know, with somebody that I know that so happened to do something in the industry. You never know where your friends are going to be and what they're going to end up doing. And like, you know, sometimes like just even your friendships, not to say you should build friendships for that, but like, I didn't even know that's what she was doing. And then one thing led to another and it worked out.
That's actually how I first came across your Kendrick Lamar one that you did. Because I was scrolling through Instagram and it came up. And then I was like, wait, why do I recognize this guy? Because obviously like, I seen the interview that he did with Steph.
For Global Jam. Yeah.
So then when I seen that, I was like, damn, this guy can actually rap.
What? Bro, this guy, real lyrics. Real, hey,
that's my bad.
it's okay. We woke him up. Hey, the rest of the world about to be woke just now. So just wait on it.
How did you get into like interviewing the players for Global Jam?
When I stopped playing, like I'm really into storytelling. So one of the things I did like while still being there and not playing was like I was doing post-game interviews like every day, like after every game, like road game and home game. People don't know that, but it was like a secret where I was just like doing post-game interviews and sending it to like our team broadcaster, and we discuss it, talk about it, whatever. And then like I was just learning how to ask questions, how to, you know, tell like a game story. I was writing like feature articles, stuff like that, just because like, you know, that's something that I'm passionate about, and I try to connect it to basketball since I was still around that. I'm trying to still figure out new opportunities, but that was just one of them. You know, I reached out to Canada Basketball. They gave me that opportunity. And if there's more to come, then there's more to come. But like right now, it's definitely something I'm always going to want to do.
Well, you should definitely keep doing it, because when I seen Steph post it, I was like, bro, you're pretty good at like interviewing people.
I've always respected you as a person, a player, and now an artist. Me and Steven actually talked about this probably one of our earlier podcast episodes, but you're very real with your lyrics, and I can tell the passion, I can tell it's authentic. How do you kind of continue to be true to yourself within your music while taking pieces from different artists? Like obviously I know like for me, like I love listening to J. Cole's lyrics. I love listening to Nas before him. Like how do you kind of combine the two to make sure it's like, okay, I'm not taking this person's like lyrics and their ideas and copying it, but you're kind of making your own in a sense?
One of the things I do is like, I really take in what they're actually doing with their song. Like, what's their goal? Like, what is the purpose of like this verse, this chorus, this album, whatever? And then I try to understand it. And then like from there, you see like, okay, this is why they told their story in this way. And this is what it means to them. You know, to the best of my ability, I try to like understand that. And then like I sit with myself and then I'm like, okay, like, what am I going through? What do I want to speak about? What do I see? What do I think is important? You know, how can I describe it from my point of view? You can have the same idea as somebody else, but you're never going to execute it the same way. Two people can have a song about the same thing. And like, if you're talking from your point of view, like a real authentic point of view from things you've seen and experienced, like it's always going to be different than the next person, even if you guys are sitting in the same room. Really and truly, I just try to focus on like, you know, okay, what's the like technical things that they're doing. When I talk about like the actual substance and like the content in the song, I realize like, all right, like it's always going to be unique. So
I seen that you were on the 99 to Infinity podcast. When you were on there, you're talking about your goal isn't to like get views and like monetary gain, it's to like tell the story.
If I'm going to do music, right? And my goal is to say, yo, I'm just trying to be the most poppin' rapper. You know, I'm just trying to have the most views. I'm trying to have everything that everybody, you know, stereotypically wants. Like, I feel like once I start thinking that, I lost. You know, it's like I have to have a meaningful idea that's not just about my accomplishments. Like, it's deeper than that.
How do you balance making the music you want while also having to like market it in a way that it's like something that people are used to consuming.
Mm-hmm.
So like obviously your sound is like a bit like more old school. So how do you market that to like a younger audience in today's world?
Honestly, for me, it's like I just try to make good music. Like I don't just try to make something that sounds like old school. Like there's a lot of stuff that I've done that's just like it sounds good to me, whether it's like an older sound or a newer sound. I feel like I'm starting to learn, you know, especially watching certain artists. If you have a good product, like a really, 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 really good product, and you just put your best foot forward and just tell people about it, you know, like don't be shy about just sharing it. People will find it and people will like it. You don't really need to focus too much on the business side when you're creating like that. Like after, like if money starts coming in, okay, handle your business. But while you're creating, it's like, all right, what I'm gonna do right now is just try to make a good song, and then I'm just gonna try to share it. The product being good is the best marketing. Like when something is just good, you don't have to like keep trying to convince people to listen to it or like it. At this stage, bro, it's like I just want to focus on making good music, and you know, whenever things pop, they pop. But I can't be too focused on that because you're gonna get drained.
No, that's a good answer.
Yeah, definitely. And then another thing that you mentioned immediately after that on the podcast was that all the go-to music are giving us game. And so which artist has given you the best lessons or pieces of advice that you've picked up on while listening to their music?
Kendrick, for sure. Like I feel like growing up, and that's why I even made that song. Like the whole purpose of that song was for me to like show the level of influence that person had on my passion for music. Even just understanding what was going on around me. Just the way he was like always like aware of his surroundings, always aware of how like, you know, to put things together in a way that was actually clear and made sense. From Section 80 to Good Kid, Mad City, all those albums, like I was young getting game that like at that age, you don't even really understand it. But it's like, even an artist like J. Cole, it's like they're planting that seed, and then you get older and you're listening to the lyrics again and you're like, damn, like I was really listening to this. Even if I didn't fully understand it, there's so many things that I was being exposed to that was, you know, helping me like see the world for like what it is and stuff. So
after you came across your injury, I read the quote that you did where it said like, we can be anything we want to be and don't let the reputation of your past hold you back. I just wanted to know like how you were able to separate how you see yourself before as a basketball player compared to now as like an artist. Like was that difficult for you? Or?
Honestly, bro, like it's simple. Like I think with all types of people, like they have this reputation that they usually grow up with, whether they're known for being good at tennis or being good at, you know, music itself, or like maybe they're good at science, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you figure out where you want to go with your life, and you know, you just have to tell yourself that this is not all that I can be. You know, it's really not that deep. It's not that hard to grasp. I just think like you just got to do it, but it's hard to do. You know, I think it's easy to understand, but like because of all the pressure you get from people, it's like all that emotion like kind of could hold you back from actually doing it when it's a simple thing.
What's like the most challenging part that you find like transitioning into like different fields?
People are just shocked. People don't like, it's like, I think that's the hardest thing. It's like when you see the shock, when you see people's like, I don't know, discomfort with it, like it makes you feel like you're not doing the right thing, or it makes you feel like, oh damn, did I make a mistake? Like, is there something else I should be doing? Like, you know, and like all these things run through your mind because of the way other people react. But if you strip all that away, like deep down, you know, like, okay. Yeah, I mean, in my case, I had no choice. You know, I had to move on. That's why to me, it's like, what do you expect? You expect me to just sit here and cry about the fact that I'm injured? I have to do something else, you know? So it's like, I think that's why for me, it was a little different. But for people that don't necessarily have the injury and they just want to transition, it could just get tough because of all the things that like people already project onto you.
Been in music for a while now. Is there anything that you've learned from music that, looking back on your basketball career, you wish you would have applied differently?
That's a good question.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
I feel like I learned more from basketball that I could apply to music. You know, I feel like anything that I could say I learned from music, I think I already learned it from basketball. So like if I answered it, I don't think it would be genuine. Like I really think basketball, sports in general, has all the life lessons, you know, when you really just take them in and like pay attention, whatever industry you go into after that, like you've seen it all.
Yeah, cause like for myself, I used to hoop too. I was nowhere near your guys' level. Just quick disclaimer for me. I noticed after I stopped playing and I got into like content creation even like a bit of music production now, like there's things that I look at that I wish I would have changed in like terms of like how I approached like training and working out and stuff. Because I used to just like work myself to the ground and like not really be efficient, whereas now I'm kind of like the opposite way.
I agree with that. No, you're right. Because I was actually in a session like 2 sessions ago. That's a conversation we had for like an hour.
Okay.
You keep doing all these takes and like you could probably get it on the 100th take where you feel like it's perfect. But like that doesn't have to be done today. Like you can come back next session. Like we're not in a rush. Have a better feel for it, come back to it. And I think like what you're saying is something I definitely learned from music that I didn't learn at basketball. In the workout, I'm gonna just keep shooting until I get it. Whether it's like I have to hit 8 out of 10, I'm not leaving the gym until I hit 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, whatever it is. I think sometimes like when you go into the studio, what you're doing might lose its like luster when you're doing that. Like you just gotta let it breathe, come back.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing how that makes a difference with like just my creative process. But sports culture is just different though.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like as an artist, like it's different because you're encouraged to let things flow. Whereas in sports, it's like if something's not working, okay, find something else, find something else, find something else.
Yeah, definitely different. You know, a coach is not gonna say like, yeah, you're leaving. You know, you guys didn't complete it. Like you guys are staying for 3 hours. Like, you're staying and you're coming back after class to do it again. Like there's no, yeah, it's a different culture for sure.
You know, obviously, as basketball players, we've experienced slumps, or sometimes we have a few bad games in a row, and you know, mentally, we're like, why can't I make a shot and stuff like that. I know for you, as a content creator, we talked about on TikTok. Sometimes you are posting stuff, and maybe the numbers aren't, you know, doing as well and stuff like that. As an artist, have you been in slumps? Have you kind of had times when you're like, man, I don't really feel like writing today, or like, you know, I don't really feel like, you know, put in some work today. If that has happened to you, how have you got yourself out of those kind of slumps?
Like it's everyone, bro. Like I think even when I look at big artists, they talk about it too. They get writer's block and stuff like that. And I'm starting to realize that's very like results focused. It's when you're super focused on like the results, like you said, the views or the whatever the case may be. And it's like, as an artist, like if you really focus on just like expressing yourself first, I think you really block all of that up. And you're always allowing yourself to like just freely work. I don't even think everything you create needs to come out. I think as an artist, you just always have to find it in you to remind yourself that like, yo, this is about expressing myself. This is about understanding, you know, whatever it is I'm trying to understand and like making sense out of it. Or just, you know, doing something that just brings you joy. At the end of the day, like that's for you. And then whether you decide to share it with others or not, like that's a decision to make after. But what I really try to do is I try to focus on creating it. And then when I focus on that and not think so much about putting it out, I take time with it and I realize like, yo, I really like this. I'm putting it out. Making music nowadays, like it's kind of tricky because I feel like a lot of people like feel rushed to put things out. Things don't have to come out the year you made it. Things don't have to come out for another 4 or 5 years. You see artists, they work on albums for 4, 5, 6, you know, like a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it's good, it's good. I think sometimes people feel burnt out because they feel like they always have to put out. And then they're like, well, why am I going to create it if I don't put it out? And it's like, that's not the way to think. You know, you're just supposed to create. And if you want it to come out, it comes out.
Oh, definitely. That's a good point.
Never thought of that.
That's a good mindset to have.
Yeah.
Damn. We gotta rechange the whole way we do this. No, but I seen like you started like a new Instagram page called Album Arteries, where it's like you break down exactly that of like in today's world where people are just so quick to look at things and then discard them or whatever, consume them. You like to look into the lessons and break it down a little bit. Just tell us how you came about that idea to create that page.
That's kind of like my daily routine for this Instagram page. Like for a long time, for years, like the way I listen to music is like it's very like album oriented. I'll pick an album and I'll listen to it for maybe 2-3 days, and like everything I'm writing about, like I do it in my head when I'm listening to an album. I'm like, this would just be good for me to just like put out, you know, just like as a passion project, you know, because I feel like. And even in university, like if I ever got to select something to like, you know, really dissect or like do a research project on, I would use as much music as I can for that. That account is like what I do. Right. You know, if like you wonder like, how do I spend my time? Like, what do I think about? Or like how does my brain work? What do I spend a whole bunch of time trying to like figure out? It's stuff like that. It's another way for me to get that passion off and like have something else to do that's not like directly like related to my music.
I think that's really interesting because a lot of times when I listen to my favorite artists, I kind of like question myself like what are they looking at when they, or what are they listening to when, you know, they're listening to different music, and how they break it down, how their mind operates, and how that translates into their music. So I think that's actually a great idea that you're doing, and you know, I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate artists doing that more.
Yeah, well, you've done so far Joey Badass and NBA Youngboy, and those are two artists that I listen to once in a while. So when I was reading it, I was like, damn, I didn't realize all this depth went into what you're creating, especially NBA Youngboy, because obviously on the surface, you see him as like an auto-tune,
like screaming and right.
His fans don't hold that image, but like I read what you put about how we grew up and everything like that. It kind of opened my eyes. I'm like, damn, I kind of want to listen to it. So what is it that like fascinates you the most when picking like certain artists to dissect?
Honestly, bro, I try to listen to everything, because when you really listen to people, like they show you that like what they're experiencing matters, you know? Because like if they're gonna go into a studio or record it, put it out into the world, like they're convinced that it matters, you know? Like they're convinced. Like no one's gonna go record a song, put it out, and think it doesn't matter. Like to them, this is everything. So for me, it's like, well, okay, let me understand why you would feel like that. Like what even makes you like believe that this matters to the world? When you kind of learn how to empathize with people, like, you know, be open-minded, whatever, you see like, okay, like this is what they're describing. This is something that like I may never see, I may never experience, I may never come across, but you learn from them. For me, music is traveling. Like I can travel through music. Like if you're from New York and you're just talking about your life in New York, I can learn about New York. That's not even just fun. It's like, it's educational. You know, I'm learning. That's really like the biggest thing for me. It's like, I always want to know what else is going on in the world, because I know I'm not seeing it all. Like I have my life and what I'm dealing with or what I'm interacting with, but like so many people out there that talk about and see and know so many things. It's like, let me see what they're on.
Yeah, damn, traveling through music.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I couldn't save myself the money on my New York trip. I know. What are some like similarities that you've noticed between basketball and music? Because obviously you need rhythm for both. You need like a sense of timing and everything.
Yeah.
Are there anything like that you've noticed between the two that are correlated?
Yeah, bro. It's like you have to put your hours in. You have to get your reps up. Like you have to learn how to actually like enunciate words well, you know, or even just the style you're trying to do it in. Like even if like there's an art to slurring your words, there's an art to sounding a certain way. You can't just like, you know, just wake up one day, and especially if it's something like you're new to, you know, it's like when you're trying to learn a new move, like you got to put those hours in, and that's something that, like, you know, it's always going to be true. Like I've just learned that it's like I always want to challenge myself, you know, whether it's okay, I want to sing a little bit more. I got to put in the hours. I got to train my voice, do it over and over and over again. And you know, when you see how far you've come from the beginning, it's actually surprising, and you realize that, okay, well, just like how, you know, I couldn't do a certain type of step back like fluidly, after some time you improve, and it's like, okay, well, now I have that in my arsenal. Same thing with music. It's like this type of flow that I saw, I wanted to imitate it, I wanted to do it. You take time to practice it, and then before you know it, like 3 months down the line, boom, you got it.
Which one out of the two do you think takes more natural talent to be good at?
Ooh, yo, I have a theory about natural talent. I actually don't believe in it.
Okay.
Because I think even with kids, like athletes, like you can see when a kid is like passionate and training from young. There's 3-year-olds, they don't know they're training, but they're training. You know, like they're shooting the ball over and over and over again. They're dribbling the ball over and over again. They're glued to the TV over and over again. Like that's them studying film without even knowing. They're just passionate and they just pursued it. And I think the same thing is true about like music. It's like there's kids, all they did was sing. Like that's all they did. Like you don't come out the womb knowing how to sing. You just keep doing it over and over and over again. And then like as you grow older, it's like, look at all the reps you had from when you were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Every time you heard a song, you try to imitate it. Now what? Now you know how to sing. When I think about it that way, I try to remind myself, if I want to learn how to do something, it's not that like it's all about natural talent. It's about like how many hours and how many years am I going to put into it. That's why they say it's easier to learn a new language when you're younger, because you're not thinking too much. You're just trying to speak. You're listening. You're trying to speak. But when you're older, you got so many things on your mind. You're probably not going to put that much time into learning a new language. That helped me gain confidence going into music, because sometimes like in the early stages, you feel like, yo, I'm a basketball player. You know, like this is what I do. You know, like this is what I'm good at. I'm not going to be good at anything else like this. And really and truly, I used to, like, I didn't suck, but like when I listened to the songs I made when I was 15, 16, I'm clearly way better.
Yeah.
But I realized I got better because literally in high school, I was making songs every single day. I definitely don't want to consider myself like naturally talented in music, because I used to suck, you know, like I wasn't good. And I got better because I kept going.
I feel like it's a common thing for people who are passionate in their craft that, you know, they want to leave a legacy, and they're driven by the legacy that they're going to leave for the younger generation, people around them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when it's all said and done, what is the impact that you want to leave behind for young kids in Toronto, across the world, whatever it is? What is your legacy that you want to leave behind?
Honestly, I think at this point, like, I want to make sure people see my story and say like, yo, making music, it's not about clout. It's not about making money. It's about like art. I think that's the legacy I want to leave behind. Like, I want to rap before I blow up, rap while I'm blown up, and rap when nobody cares about me anymore. You know, when I'm 70, I'm just rapping. You know, like I want that to be my life. And I think a lot of people, they could look at a painter like that. You know, painters paint till they die. They're 70, 60 years old. They're in their, you know, old people home, and they're painting. That's what they do. Give me a studio when I'm in an old people home. You know, that's what I'm gonna do. And that's what I want people to like remember me for. It's like, yo, like music doesn't have to be about just like doing it when you're hot and then, you know, being popping. It's like, nah, this is something that like, if you're passionate about it, you just do.
That's a good answer.
That's a good answer. Yeah.
So just as we were wrapping up, I wanted to give you the opportunity to like say if there's any future projects coming out or songs or anything that you're working on.
Yeah, always, you know, I'm still trying to figure out how I'm gonna go about things, but like I'm not in the studio every day, but I'm always like, you know, listening, thinking, writing, you know. So it's like music coming always, whether it's gonna come immediately or later. Like it's always coming, because like I said, it's kind of what I do.
His Spotify will be linked in the description. It's just Jon Kabongo, right? For your Spotify?
Yeah. Yep. Jon Kabongo, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, YouTube, all of that.
Thank you for coming on the show. You've been a great guest.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
When you're a massive star and you're rapping at, what's it called? The Rogers Center? all these places, you'll come back on the show?
Of course. You guys are number one on Spotify. I need my interview. That's all I'm saying. I need my interview when you guys are number one on Spotify. That's all.
Appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later.